Hey there, and welcome back to Local Marketing Secrets. I'm your host, Danny Liebrandt, and today I'm with Craig Campbell. If you don't already know Craig, he is one of the top names in SEO with over 22 years of experience in the industry. He was voted the #1 most influential SEO in the world in 2020 and has spoken at major conferences internationally, including Brighton SEO, Chiang Mai SEO, Affiliate World, and more. He also has a huge following on social media with over 1 million followers, actually subscribers on YouTube, over 160K on TikTok, and over 100K on Twitter. He's also built and flipped countless profitable websites, and he's even landed a 6-figure sponsorship deal with ODYS for his content. So if you want the real unfiltered SEO insight from white hat to black hat, this is the guy to learn from. So without further ado, thanks for coming on the show, Craig.
Thank you. Appreciate the lovely introduction. If everyone said nice things like that, the world would be a better place. But yeah, it's been a long journey. 22, I think it's 23 years now. Actually, I've been in the industry, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. You're definitely a master, man, and I've just seen countless people in the industry show so much respect to you. So really awesome. Again, like I said, I want to jump into white hat versus black hat on this episode. So first off, I'd just like to cover for some people that might not even be familiar or might actually have the definition screwed up. What is your definition of white hat and black hat SEO?
Or the way that I like to tell people it is, people always make the assumption that that black hat in particular is like spam, hacking, all of that kind of stuff. And that's not what black hat is. People think, mass spamming, blog comment spam, mass pages, AI content, they see that as black hat. Now, that's just stupid. That stuff doesn't work. Maybe in the short term, you would get some benefit from deploying those tactics. Black hat is more bending the rules slightly, or being creative with certain things. Maybe leveraging age domains, for example. So if there's a website out there that's got 20 years worth of history, backlink profile, and everything else, why would you use that? Why wouldn't you use that over a brand new website? So there's certain tactics where you just lean into them because it gives you the leverage you need to catch up in the competition, because people come into the industry and you're 10 years behind everyone else. If you start today, the chances are the competition will be doing SEO for 10 or 15 years. What are you going to do to beat that guy? You can't match him for time. You probably can't match him for the budget that the guy spent over the last 10 or 15 years. So you're going to have to leverage something. You're going to have to find some way to leverage yourself up to the same level. It's the same way, we all entered into this space and bullshitted our way in. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing, but you can't say that to the customer. You've got to say, dude, of course I know what I'm doing. Give me your money and I'm going to sort this shit out. And, you're having to leverage fake experience when you're starting out, and people leverage bullshit all the time. Everyone, even if they've got 2 years experience, is going around telling people they've got 10 years experience. That's just life. And that is just the way black hat is. You're just leveraging things and maybe deploying tactics that maybe Google say that you shouldn't use. Google obviously are a commercial organization. Their goal is to make as much money as they can, but equally, they don't want douchebags like us manipulating their search engine. So, of course, they're going to say, guys, if you get caught doing this, you're going to get that. They also throw you off the scent. They're never going to say, guys, here's how you all fucking manipulate my search engine. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to tell you any old shit, and there's going to be stuff that leads you down the wrong path and all of this kind of stuff. And, that is where you always have to try and test different theories. And somehow, when you try and test different things, people see you as a black hat devil. You're like, well, no, Google said this doesn't work, and I can prove it does. That is what black hat is. And, there's a little bit more to black hat than that as well. For example, let's say you're doing local, and I know you mentioned there, local SEO strategies and stuff. Let's say we're talking in the local SEO space, and there's a one-man business out there who's got a Google map listing that you're optimizing. His competition may go out and pretend that they've got 5 locations, and they're going to do pin drops, and they're going to pretend that they're there, and the competition is going to get 5 times more leads than the guy that plays the white hat game. Which one of them do you want to be? You've got food to put on the table for your family. Now, if the other guy's doing it, are you just going to roll over and let him win? Or are you going to compete and play? Don't hate the player. You've got to hate the game. And that's the big thing. People go, oh, you dodgy bastard. You've got, 10 GMB listings for this, and, you've only got one office and all that stuff. So what? If that's what everyone else is doing, then I'm doing it. If that's what's been rewarded, then that's it. If Google were clamping down on that officially, and it was everyone could have 1 GMB, then fine. But I'm not going to sit there while the competition are sitting there with 20 GMBs or 50 GMBs cleaning up all the money. I'm not accepting that. And that is where the grey areas come in, because people say that's immoral, that's, this, that, and the next thing. I don't care what's immoral. I've got a family to feed. And if that's my way to make money and generate leads, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. And obviously the job is to make sure that you don't get caught by Google, because, people use the same business name, the same phone number, and Google will come and suspend those accounts and all that stuff. So, you need to just be creative and think outside the box and cover your footprints and stuff. And that, for me, is what Black Hat is. And whether that's on a local level, whether it's doing link building, whether it's creating content, whatever, that is what is deemed Black Hat, not spam and, horrible stuff like that doesn't work. But there's little nuances there where absolutely I think you'd be crazy not to lean into if your competition are doing it. And I'm sure you've seen it a million times. Look around you. Go do some fucking research.
Yeah.
There's one-man bands that look like they've got 50 offices all over the bloody country. And we know they clearly haven't, but that's good marketing. That is someone exploiting everything they can to make money, and I respect that. And some people feel bad that I respect that and encourage those tactics. But that's just the nature of the world.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And to that effect, I usually promote white hat tactics. I tell people to follow Google's guidelines, but there is still kind of that middle ground of maybe you could call like a gray hat, where something like the getting Google Business Profile locations, like according to Google's guidelines, as a service-based business, like, I help pest control companies in particular, they're actually not supposed to have, or they're not supposed to show a location unless they're actually operating out of an office and they have like a receptionist and people operating out of the office. Whereas I'm still recommending companies to get a location even if they don't have anyone operating in an office, and maybe get a location in one of your friends' back rooms or something. So that's kind of gray hat. I wouldn't necessarily say it's black hat. I try to stray away from it, but I feel like there is some middle ground there. I don't think it's necessarily clearly white hat or black hat.
Again, it's just bending the truth slightly. There's certain things, again, like even the time that your office is opened. See if you say you're only open from 8 until 4. See if someone at 6 p.m. at night is looking for you and your office is not open, your listing goes. Sometimes you just need to make it look like your office is open 24/7. Again, what's wrong with that? Telling a few porky pies isn't the end of the world. And, Google have got guidelines. And I think for the most part, when I set out in business or set out in a project, I don't want to ruffle Google's feathers. Absolutely not. But in certain instances, there will be certain things I will absolutely exploit. And like I say, that's obviously a risk on my part. Now, am I going to do it under my own business name? Probably not. If I've got a clean website that's there's nothing wrong with me starting a second website with a secondary brand that is more aggressive and more black hat. You do not want to damage the bread and butter that you're making. So again, building other assets that you can be more aggressive with, you could deploy things like that as well. So it's where you deploy these tactics, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on the main website. So I operate a lot in the iGaming space, and there's regulated markets, there's unregulated markets. There's money in both, but unregulated markets is just casinos that don't have licenses in certain countries, and their websites are blacklisted from certain countries. So you have to do churn and burn, and set up multiple websites to get traffic, or you just let your competition do it. So these things all have a time and a place to do these tactics. I think overall, if you can go out and you can just do good, clean work and be honest, and it generates you enough living, then you don't have to deploy those tactics. A lot of those tactics are more relevant to more competitive spaces, or like the iGaming or the adult niche or whatever. You see a lot more of the black hat stuff in those spaces, whereas maybe for you, just doing the GMB stuff is enough for you, whether you do lead gen or whatever it is you do, rank and rent or whatever, or it's your own business. Happy days. You don't actually have to go to those levels, because most of the other pest control guys are not playing that same game. So you only really need to match what you're up against. And for the most part, I would imagine that pest control is not that dirty. Most of these guys are just doing some basic local landing pages, GMB stuff. That's it. And maybe the odd map listing that's not there, but I don't really necessarily think that's too bad.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know. And that's actually a refreshing perspective. And yeah, the pest control is one of the more competitive home services, but as a whole, again, compared to maybe some of the more sketchy industries, or I don't know, even something like lawyers, is much more competitive. So in that regard, you don't have to do too much. But what you're saying is that you have to know the competitive landscape, and you have to know what it takes to compete with everyone around.
Yeah. I mean, see, the thing is, no disrespect to the home services industry, but people who are doing SEO in the home services industry are not spending millions of pounds a year on marketing. In the gambling space, they're spending that a month on it, because the money that can be made, and that's where the aggression, the cheating and the trick come. Whereas you're only competing against other small businesses who don't even have the resources to get the consultancy to play those games anyway. So whilst it probably is, there's a lot of guys doing pest control, I'm absolutely sure of it. They're just not, there's not this, some guys are paying $5,000 a month and some guys are paying $50,000 a month for their SEO. I refuse to believe that anyone's spending $50,000 a month in their SEO in the home services, because they don't need to. They're not buying PBNs, and they're not, doing all that crazy stuff. So, it is competitive. It would probably be unfair to say it's like a shitty little niche that has no competition. That would be wholly unfair. But in the grand scheme of things, I think, the level of tactics and the level of knowledge from people who would work with those type of clients it's all relative, and I think you could pretty much get away with doing a good, solid white hat job. And I think that's always the goal. You never set out. I had a guy, a friend of mine, and all he'd done was lead gen, and he had 2,000 GMBs. And I'm like, dude, what is it you actually do? And he went, I just sell these leads on. All he done every day was look through his GMBs to see how many get suspended. And he used to sit with his head in his hands. He's like, I've lost 50 overnight. And that's I know, 10 grand worth of revenue that he's just lost like that. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how you can sleep at night, like setting up a business like that, because that business is always doomed to failure, because the 2,000 GMBs that he had were all fake. And I'm like, man, you need to try and do something legit. Like, why can you not set up, what you're doing, why can you not just set up normal businesses for real? You don't have to cheat all the time. Like I say, if you have to, because that's the industry standard, fair play. But I think, I don't know exactly what you're doing, but if you can just do legit lead gen or whatever you're doing in that space, or if it's for your own company or whatever, that's the goal, and do that and have a good sleep at night, and you don't need to worry about things getting suspended. So, for any, and the reason I say that is sometimes it seems more interesting to be doing the dirty, cheating stuff. People get excited by that, but comes a lot of stress with those tactics as well. So it's just something I want to throw in there. Just, it's not always the best way to live your life. If you can do it legit, it's always a lot better to do it that way.
Yeah, no, that's a great affirmation. And it's also another important point to mention there is that it's not just with your business, but it's potentially with your clients' businesses. That, if you, I don't know, you build up a lot of great SEO, now their company is completely relying on it. They've hired more employees, they're growing, and they're expecting all these leads to come in. And then all of a sudden, Google hammers them, and now maybe their website's down, maybe their Google business profiles are down, local service ads are down. Their business, a lot of these, again, like in the home services in particular, a lot of these guys are relying on SEO. Like, pest control companies, that they're just waiting for people to find pests in their house for then people to reach them. That's why I'm in the industry, because I found it to be, that's how you find pest control companies. You find them through SEO. So in that regard, I really make sure to, I might delve into a little bit of gray hat, like I was saying, but nothing ever that's like clearly black hat.
Nah, I think you also need to be mindful, mate. Like, if you're doing that for another person's business, that they could have 10, 15 employees. You're taking the food clean off of 10 other tables by cheating. And it's not your right to cheat for someone else's business. By all means, if you're doing affiliate, you're doing your own stuff, play whatever game you want. But I think you do have to be mindful that it's someone else's business that they could have taken 20 years to build up. So just be very, very careful in terms of what you deploy, because when Google comes down on you, they come down hard, man, and it's hard to shake them off.
Yeah, I'd like to talk more about that. Of like, what have you seen with Google recently in terms of updates, how people getting hammered, and maybe also your personal experiences with that?
So I think, over the years, Google have been getting more aggressive with everything they're doing, and the way that I try and say this to the wider public is there's too many guys or girls doing SEO now, and too many of them are doing jackass SEO, and Google need to clean up a lot of the bullshit. So they're waiting for you to slip to clean up stuff. So certainly on a local level, over the recent years, we've seen a lot more accounts getting suspended. You see Google now doing manual reviews where they'll ask for footage outside the premises and stuff like that. There's obviously an algorithm there, and if there's 10 businesses listed at this one address, it instantly goes for manual review. So, if you're going to do that stuff, pick a bloody business location that doesn't have 10 other businesses at it, for goodness sake. But anyway, you see that happening. You used to see a lot of people doing fake reviews on a local level. And again, in recent times, we've seen a lot of the reviews disappear. So what happened is Google basically went through a lot of unused Gmail accounts that are very rarely logged into, deleted them all, but that means that the reviews were all deleted as well. It wasn't that Google were going through deleting your reviews. They were just getting rid of inactive profiles, which in turn, if they were leaving reviews, they were wiped out. So, reviews are harder to stick. Fake listings are harder to get verified. Sometimes they're even harder to stick as well. So the job's getting harder, and Google are clamping down on everything, whether that be on a local level, whether that be on a AI mass page level, if you're doing that stuff. Google, you used to get away with a lot more than you do now. Obviously the algorithm is getting cleverer and cleverer. It can detect AI patterns, it can detect this, it can detect that. But even when it comes to like CTR manipulation, we used to use tools like micro workers and all that stuff, and traffic was traffic, and that done whatever. Now they're looking at mobile proxies, the location, the GPS location of the device and all this crap, again, to filter out the junk, because so many of SEO guys, and I say that, I'm including myself in that, are fucking doing all this jackassery. And
Yeah.
they're finding ways, more sophisticated ways and better technology to stop you from fucking gaming the system. So, all of that kind of stuff has changed. So CTR, even in a map listing or on YouTube or on an organic page, always worked very, very well. But now you need to use mobile proxies, and you've got to emulate spoof locations and all of this stuff if you want that same thing to work. So the job is just getting harder and harder and more sophisticated. And that's because Google are clamping down and clamping down and clamping down. But there's so many SEOs there who don't understand the mechanics of what they're doing and don't understand why it no longer works. And obviously you see that happening all the time. And people are like, oh no, CTR no longer works. That's shit, whatever. And you're like, oh, CTR clearly still does work. Just the way you're doing it, shit. So you've got to evolve your skills, improve your knowledge, talk to other people. What are you doing, and how's it working for you? And take inspiration from all of those things. And I think it's always a learning curve, mate. And I think you always have to keep on top of these things. And other things that I've seen happen. Again, and the reason I keep emphasising local stuff is because I know that's probably more suited to your audience. Years ago, there used to be a hack where I could go into your GMB listing and I could go in and suggest an edit and change the date of the business to something in the future, and it would close down your GMB listing. So I could go down and shut down all the competition, essentially, which is a massive fucking flaw. You're like, Google, come on, man. Like, that's a massive gaping hole right there. So they patched that up about 2 or 3 years ago. But what happens is, about 2 months ago, it opened up again and you could do it again. So for me, Google have got patches upon patches upon patches. And sometimes when they do a core update, some of that shit then just starts working again. And again, the point I'm trying to make is what worked 2 years ago may not work now, but equally, stuff that people said no longer works 2 years ago may also work now. So again, you have to just test, tweak, and see what works for you. And I think, just blanket believing what Google say, or, because Google would never tell you that you could do that. They'll say, oh, that could never happen. That's such a terrible thing. It fucking did happen. It was happening to me. Some fucker was doing it to me. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it was me that actually reported it to Google when they patched it. I'm like, I'm not waking up every day having to fucking check my GMBs. Fuck that. So, I think that is a sad state of play. Google are getting more aggressive and they're making life a lot more difficult. And it just means that we are struggling to get the scale and stuff that we need, that maybe guys 5 or 10 years ago had. And that's sometimes when you need to strike when the iron's hot. So I revert back to the guy who had 2,000 GMBs or whatever it was. And you're like, I mean, that guy made a fucking lot of money. And he got it for a few years. Now, yes, it was very stressful, but I'm sitting there going, I don't like that stress. But if he sat there and said to me, Craig, I made £3 million in the space of 2 years and I'm semi-retired, I'd be like, you made the right choice, mate. And you can reinvest that 3 million into something more legit, even happier days. So sometimes if there's something, double down and I know I've said don't, and you want to be able to sleep at night, but sometimes you in hindsight, you're like, God, I could have got a 2-year run at that and I could have really scaled that massively, because that will never happen again. The way that worked will never happen again because Google are clamping down on it. They didn't know before. They didn't know the massive scale that people were doing it on before, but they've obviously learned from the SEOs of 5 or 10 years ago, and they're now like, you are not getting away with that. So yeah, I think we see Google changing all the time and adapting its approach, and I understand why. I if I was in Google shoes, I'd be doing the exact same thing, going, Danny's not fucking going to be sitting there with fucking 500 GMBs in the one account. Fuck Danny. He's got pest control, he's got this, he's got that, he's got that. I mean, it's just not normal to have that much. But if you can get away with it, of course you're going to sit there with 500 or 5,000 or whatever. So, I fully understand it from both sides of the perspective.
Yeah, no, in that regard, I think it actually does make it more fair. And I do think that we should strive for more white hat. And I think with the future of Google, it seems like they're only going to be cracking down more on black hat strategies. Do you think it's ever going to become full white hat, or what do you think the future of Google is going to look like?
Nah, I think there's always going to be ways of manipulation, always. But I think they are doing probably a reasonably good job at doing what they're doing and cleaning stuff up. And I think, for me, if you asked me this question 10 years ago, I'd be like, it's all about SEO. Now, when it comes to business, I'm like, get traffic from Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, SEO, pay-per-click, newsletter, YouTube. I think, it's not always about Google now. And as much as that pains me to say that as an SEO, it's just because Google's so volatile as well. But obviously, the organic search is getting pushed further and further down page one to the point where everything else has been seen before you. So I think, you need to diversify your traffic sources and strategies and techniques and everything else. And can you manipulate YouTube, for example, easier than Google? Of course you can. So that is kind of where I see things going. Just diversify your traffic sources. I don't think Google could ever just go white hat. Where there's an ability to edit something, whether it be a web page, a link, doing a PR, making a map list, there's always going to be some douchebag doing something that they shouldn't be doing. There's always going to be some kind of hack going on, and it's just impossible to keep it 100% clean. So I can't see that ever happening. But I think, giving people a fairer chance to get into the market rather than someone sat there dominating the full of America and pest control because they're a greedy bastard is not fair. So it gives you opportunity to get a piece of the pie and many others, younger people coming into the industry and stuff. You don't want some old guy sitting there making all the money for the rest of his life and he's a billionaire and no one else is to get a share. So that's not what life's all about. So I think that's where I say Google do a good job of maybe curbing that type of behaviour and give other people an opportunity, because we all have to eat. We all want a better car, better house, whatever it may be. So, if we're kind of on a semi-level playing field, it then comes down to hard work and dedication, and hopefully those who have that grit and determination actually win and have half a chance of winning.
Awesome. Something I want to make sure to cover is AI content. I'm sure that this is like a super hot topic. Everyone's talking about making tons of blogs with AI and using ChatGPT or other different tools. What is your stance on that? Can you just generate a ton of content with AI, or should it have some human involvement?
Yeah, so, it's when AI, ChatGPT and everything else came out, of course, even back before ChatGPT, we were using Jasper, and even before that, we were using Search Shaker for mass page spam and all this kind of stuff. So trying to do things aggressively, quickly, and at a scaled level, we've all tried it. And it works to some degree for the short term. Even with ChatGPT, I think last year we launched a website and I think it had 1,200 pages on it. And we launched it all, and we felt that the tool was very, very good. It made it all look good. And we got probably to the 3 or 4 month part where we got really good growth, and then it died. And we couldn't recover it because it probably took Google that time. So what I believe happens is Google will give you the benefit of the doubt at the start, which is why you see sometimes this shit works to some degree, and then they catch it and boom, you're done. And see if they think that's what your website's all about. it's hard to recover. We couldn't recover that website no matter what we've done. And I'm talking about, we took all the content off, we actually put real content on there, we built real links, we've done everything, trust signals, everything, and couldn't recover it. It was like Google had just went bang, black mark right through your name. And for me, I still think that the human editing, I'm not saying don't use AI, AI is great for research, it's great for structure, research, giving you an outline, all of these kind of things. But I do believe that the human editing and stuff like that is really important. And, yes, I use AI, but I also go into Grammarly and various other things to check for AI patterns. I don't want that to flag up, because if Grammarly can tell me that AI had written it, then Google can tell. So I think you've always got to have that human element to it. And too many people are just looking for a quick fix just now. So I've not yet found a way to make pure AI out the box stick for the long term. It's stuck for 3-4 months, and people will tell you, "Oh, our AI, it's undetectable and all that stuff." It gets detectable. It's one of those things that it gets slammed in the end. And, I'd love to sit here and say otherwise and say, because, dude, see if it could stick, I'd be launching 10 websites a day if I could get that shit to stick. Content's the biggest bugbear for all of us. That's the time-consuming bullshit part we don't want to do. For anyone, we've always, for years and years and years, trying to find someone who can just write good content has always been a problem for SEO people. We don't want to do it because we're all lazy bastards and we get burnt out. We do it at the start, but we want a copywriter to do it, and we want them to write 100 pages a day if we could get away with it. It just doesn't happen. People burn out, and if AI could replace it, absolutely. But I think AI in general, can AI do social media? Can AI and automation do a lot of other tedious tasks within an SEO company? Absolutely. And I think it's amazing to be able to use any workflows and automate bits of your business that maybe take you 2 hours to do manually when you could do it in 5 minutes using an automation. I think I absolutely love all of that side of it. But as an SEO and knowing that the biggest bugbear is content and stuff, it's not good for that. And that's a horrible thing to say, because that would be the dream. Yeah,
definitely. So I wanted to hear more on social media then, because I know you have a huge following on social media. What is your take? And particularly with local businesses, should local businesses be posting on social media? And then do they have to be running ads? Do they have to be doing everything?
No, not necessarily. Your pest control guy, for example, is there any point in him having an Instagram catching a rat? People don't like rats. It's not visually appealing. But a hairdresser doing an amazing haircut, absolutely, people want to see that. So I think social media works for certain businesses and it doesn't work for other businesses. Now, as an SEO guy, people would look to me for education, tips, advice, whatever. So social media works for me. YouTube works for me because people want that kind of content. Does Instagram work for me? SEO is not a visual thing, so Instagram doesn't work for me. But does Instagram work for clothing brands, hairdressers, and everything else? Absolutely. So you need to try and understand where your target audience is and what they would look for. So, would I be spending time, effort, and money if I was your pest control guy on social media? Maybe Facebook ads. Maybe, because everyone's in Facebook, and if you find a big rat in your house, and you see the pest control guy, I'm going there, whatever. So I think you've got half a chance retargeting people on Facebook ads. But I think YouTube, again, are people really wanting to, for me, do I want to ever watch you catching a rat? No, I hate rats. It's my biggest bugbear, or my biggest fear is rats, believe it or not. I don't mind if a guy was 6'5" and he was angry and wanted to confront me. I can deal with that to some degree. I'm not saying I would win, but I'm not as scared. But if I seen a tiny little rat, dude, I'm fucking gone. So it's not the type of content I would consume for that type of stuff. The same with roofers and stuff. Do I really want to see you up there fixing a chimney or something? No, it's boring. So it's hard to be creative and make fun, engaging content around certain things. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do social media at all. Now, I have seen plumbers who do before and afters when, they're doing a bathroom installation, some old bathroom, and then they come in and, it looks $1 million. I can see why people would buy into that. That is more visual. It's still home services, but it's a lot more visually appealing. Whereas the pest control, no one wants to see 30, whatever the pest might be. So I think you just need to use common sense and go, has the competition got it? If someone else is doing really well with it, then of course replicate it and replicate that type of content. So it works for some and not for others is the short answer as to whether social media works or not.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And for most pest control companies, it doesn't work and it doesn't make sense. Like if they're maybe even under $1 million a year, then it probably makes sense to go into something more like Facebook ads or whatever, just going into SEO, Google ads. But I've seen once companies start to get bigger, then it starts to make sense to diversify and go into all the different platforms, right?
I think there's nothing wrong to trying different platforms. Throw a bunch of money at it, and if it doesn't work, just move on. Even for me on a personal level, I probably get more traction from YouTube and LinkedIn than I would in Facebook. Now, if I post a picture of my son on Facebook, it gets more traction because people like me as a person on Facebook. They don't want to hear fucking SEO talk because a lot of the people on there are colleagues or people that I've met and they've heard all the SEO shit before. They're not a new audience. So again, even understanding that, it took me a while because I used to just share the same shit across all platforms. And then I realised that on Facebook, it wasn't getting the same engagement as it would on a LinkedIn or a Twitter. And obviously that is where those platforms are more for networking. Facebook's more for friends. If you're friends with me for 10 years in Facebook, do you really want to hear me talking about a Google map again or a link or you'll be like, fuck's sake, Craig. If you see me out having fun, of course you're going, oh, look at this mad bastard or whatever. So that is where you need to understand the psychology of the people you're hitting with this crap that you're doing. And that is where now the content that goes out from platform to platform is very often going to differ as well. So I show a lot more personal stuff on Instagram and Facebook, family stuff, fun stuff, stupid reels, whatever. And I think Twitter and LinkedIn, I don't really show the fun stuff. It's just more podcasts, education, videos and things like that. So that's certainly how I see it for me personally.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That first off, it should be something that people want to see, and it's also platform specific. So LinkedIn is going to be more business, Facebook's going to be more interrelational, TikTok's going to be more engaging. So that makes sense. It also depends on the platform. That's a really good point. Yeah. And then one of the last topics that I wanted to talk about is link building. I know you're huge on link building. You even have a link building agency, linksforyou.com. And let's talk about links in regards to white hat versus black hat. Can you do link building white hat, or is it mostly black hat and you'd have to buy more spammy links?
I'm going to turn this on you, right? So Google have pretty much said in the past, don't buy links, don't do this, don't do that. Google will reward amazing content with natural links, right? That's the kind of guideline that they're pushing. Now, see for your pest control and all of the other websites you've ever worked on, if they ever had a natural link from Google because it's amazing content?
Basically zero, no.
No. Now, of course, if you were to write a document on the JFK assassination, for example, and it was really interesting and really insightful, I'm sure people would share and link to that. Absolutely. But for a fucking plumber, a roofer, home services, absolutely no. It does not fucking happen. And if you think that that is going to ever happen, you're wasting your time, because my first 5 years in my SEO career, I believed in all that white hat bullshit. And I was still waiting. I wasn't making much money for my first 5 years, coincidentally. Wasn't generating many leads. And then you go, fucking hell, you know, you think about it and you go, Jesus, no one's ever going to link to this crap. So when it comes to link building, no matter what happens, you're buying it. It doesn't matter what you say. Now, there's tons of vendors out there across the world who simply sell links. Now, whatever guise that comes under, whether that be an admin fee, whether that be through outreach and the person says it's $100, you can call that outreach if you want. You're still fucking paid for the link. It doesn't matter. You're still buying it. It's just quicker and easier. Rather than doing 100 emails and getting one reply for a guy to say it's £100, and you've spent $1,000 reaching out to the people, you're as well just taking the £1,100 and just fucking going to a link vendor and saying, give me all of these links for that budget. Your time is better used that way. And you know, you can buy a link on anything you like, whether it be the Washington Post, Entrepreneur. You know, if anyone out there believes that that is happening naturally, you're insane. You know, I would absolutely say you are fucking deluded, because I can show you where to go and buy them. You know, it's publicly available. So these people who say you can't buy links, that's the bad thing. Google can't see the transaction. They don't know whether you bought it or not anyway. They've not seen the communication. So a link's a link. And you know, I get why Google would say don't buy them. But the reality is everyone is. And whether you like that or not, I've sold links for years and years and years. Everyone that I know who's ever ranked a website has bought a link of some description, whether they want to admit that or not. You know, you get the odd guy going, oh, but yeah, I done outreach, and then the guy asked for an admin fee. Sure, you still paid for it, mate. Or I spoke to this editor girl and she asked me to take her out for dinner. You've still bought the fucking link.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what way you have to schmooze someone. If you need to take them for dinner, buy them a case of beers, schmooze them, whatever, you're paying one way or another, directly or indirectly. And that is just the nature of link building. And people are now aware, more so than back in the day, of the value of a link. So if you're sat on a whole host of websites and I rock into your inbox going, hey, Danny, do you fancy sticking you know, some links to some of my websites just because you're a lovely guy? You're going to be like, fuck off, Craig. Like, why would I stick your link on my DR60s and take the time to do it? But what do I get out of this? That's natural people's line of questioning. What do I get out of this? And most of the time it's money, unless they come to the table and say, I've got these websites. Of course you can do trade-off. So I could come to you, Danny, you've got 5 websites there that I like and I want a link on them. You're going to say, Craig, what's in it for me? I'm going to say, well, I've got 5 websites you like. Do you want to do something? If it's mutually beneficial, absolutely, you don't need to pay. But how many people are sat there with assets that they can trade off? Not that many. If you're starting out in business, you've got no other assets, you need to start buying. And that is sadly the reality of it. And trying to get that through to people, and they go, no, it's Google said it's illegal to buy links. And you're like, well, I'm sorry, you're always going to be broke and you're not going to rank that well. Now, arguably, there are people who are in niches that citations may be enough to rank, and they don't buy links on a month-to-month basis. You've probably got some local websites where you maybe only done some citations and some basic PR blast or whatever, and it's enough to rank. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. But be aware that website is in a real shitty area that has no competition. Try do the fucking same thing in New York and tell me that you don't need links. And then you ain't going to be ranking anywhere near page one for a term like that unless you've got that power and authority. So, that's the difference. There's always these people coming up with these counter arguments, and you're like, well, show me something you've ranked in a competitive space without a link. And they can't show you because they've never done it. They've never done it. There's guys over the years as well. Yeah, I've looked at this big traffic boner, as we call it. I ranked for a super competitive term, and they fucking Photoshop the document to make it look like they've done no links. And when you reverse engineer it, you're like, you fucking lying bastard. Like, why? Why? And I get it. If you want to kid on your Mr. White Hat because you sell services to clients, I get that. Speak in a clean manner, because if the client thinks you're up to no good and you're a rogue, of course they're not going to give you the money. There's a certain game to play, but don't just outrageously lie. Anyone out there will tell you content and links are always super important from an... I know technical is important and EAT signals and all that kind of stuff are now in play, but the root source of SEO for many, many years has always been content and links, and it's still two huge important parts of it. And for anyone to say otherwise is insane. And like I say, I get it. You can do really good content in a really shit area and you don't need any links. Absolutely. But it's competitive spaces where I think you need to start considering to do what the competition are doing. And you've got your tools. You can see what the competition are doing. It's as simple and easy. Let's say you reverse engineer the competition. You come to me, Craig, I want consultancy. This guy's got Business Insider. He's got Market Watch. He's got this. He's got that. I just say, mate, go and Google Business Insider people per hour, and you'll find about 100 guys selling the fucking link as well. Go fucking do that. It's a simple search. And go buy the same shit your competition's got. And at least catch up with them. And then from there, if you can get links that they don't have, hopefully you should be able to grow and scale and get better and bigger than them.
Awesome. And can you... you touched on this a little bit, but can you get in trouble for buying links? Like maybe if it's a really spammy one, or can Google catch you somehow?
When I'm buying links or when I'm selling links, we have certain quality checks. So there's certain links out there you can buy for $100, and there's certain links you could buy for $1,000, and there's links out there you can buy for $10. Now, the ones that are $10 can still be like a DR90. But it's got fucking 500,000 other links on it. And they're linking out to porn websites, builder websites and stuff like that. So when I'm looking at links, I don't want to be associated. I don't want a link from someone who's linking out to all sorts of porn. I want someone who's not been spammed to death. You also want links from websites that actually get traffic now. You don't just solely believe the DR on a website, because you can go to Fiverr or Legit and you can inflate the DR of a website for $30. So there's certain quality checks where I want links on a real website that's not been spammed to death, that is topically relevant. And when I say topically relevant, again, so many people get confused with this. You have said that you do pest control. Now, the topical relevance of that is not other pest control websites. It's home services. Google don't categorize that specifically. It is home services, home improvements, whatever. Now, is being on a garden website relevant to you? Other home services websites? Absolutely. That's what I mean by relevance. Another pest control guy's never going to link to you in a million years. The competition. But you want them to be topically relevant to the point where it's other home services. And again, that is what you're trying to achieve. They've got, a lot of people go out there and they buy any old link, and you're like, dude, and it's fine being on some powerful news websites and stuff. Of course, that gives you a bit of a movement, but the topical relevance is also super important to consider to some degree. I'm not saying for every link, but there's got to be a degree of topical relevance to your backlink profile as well.
Awesome. And for this last section here, I'd like to go through some rapid fire questions. So maybe, 30 to 60 seconds for each one.
Yep.
So I've got, the first one is the one black hat tactic that you would never touch again.
Oh, God, one black hat tactic that I would never touch again. I mean, I've done a lot and I've fucked up a lot of things, but I've learned from them. So I'm not sure I wouldn't touch again. Something that I wouldn't touch again. Fuck.
Like, is there anything like too crazy, or is everything on the table?
Nah, everything's on the table, mate. Like, even the crazy stuff, I would try again and do it better. Like, even if I fucked it up, it's very difficult because I've learned from stuff. I've not done every black hat thing and come out winning from it, but I've taken something from that and made my process better. So I don't know if I could actually say there's something I wouldn't try again. Because I like just trying weird shit just for the sheer hell of it, good or bad. Well, I think there's always something you can learn from it. So, nah, I can't actually answer that.
Okay, cool. Next one we've got, what is the most underrated SEO strategy right now?
Traffic. So what I mean by that is whether it's a GMB, whether it's an organic page, whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's anything else, if you send traffic to that, you will see a jump up in rankings. There's a time and a place to send traffic to something, but what I would say is so many people get stuck, let's say position B on the map or position 5 in organic, and they always say, is it more content, is it more links? Nah, it's not always the case. Send a bit of traffic to it, and you will see things progress. We typically call that CTR manipulation. So
yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so the next one we have is one black hat move you secretly respect.
One black hat move that I secretly respect. I mean, I respect them all, to be fair. One that I secretly respect. I mean, I just respect overall the creativity of people's minds, the way they come up with stuff. But like cloaking, showing Google one website, showing a visitor another, I've always liked that one. I just think it's genius. But taking advantage of age domains, it's just genius. It's so simple and so effective. I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to go with that one.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that before. That's a great one. Next one is an SEO tool that you can't live without.
Oh, man. Based on that, I am big on backlinks. I'm going to probably say Ahrefs. And the only reason I say that, and I'm going to say something before it, is DR can be manipulated. But when you're assessing whether a link's a good link or not, you need to look at the DR and you need to look at the links that are pointing to that website and the traffic and all that stuff. So it's probably the most frequently used, based on I've always been a kind of link builder guy. So that's probably one where if you took that away from me, I probably would start to get a bit of anxiety. A lot of the others I could do without. There's always workarounds, but I need to know what the DR is and I need to know what the anchors are and all that kind of stuff. So Ahrefs.
Awesome. And what is a white hat tactic that is a complete waste of time?
Hoping that Google are going to reward your amazing evergreen content with natural links. I think that's just bollocks. I think a lot of the standard guidelines are there and, they're telling you to add schema and all that. So there's a lot of good guidelines there. I'm not saying there's not. But that one there has always just been a bugbear of mine where you're just like, why even say that? It's just the stupidest thing to ever say.
Awesome. And the last one I've got for you is, will SEO ever be dead?
Nah, I don't think so. You get people asking the question about search generative experience and how to manipulate the AI overview. And we, do that kind of thing and we've played around with it and it works. So I think we're always going to be manipulating something, whether it be ChatGPT, if that becomes a search engine, whatever, there's always going to be manipulation. And for me, that's always going to be the case. So whether it's on ChatGPT, AI overview, YouTube, call it what you like. It might not be search engine optimization. It may be answer engine optimization or whatever may happen in the future. But I do feel that there'll be people like us fucking around trying to get clients or ourselves or whatever products or services onto those kind of top spaces.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up our show here. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Craig. I know how important your time is. And if people want to learn more about you or your services, how can they get in touch and find about them?
So you can come to my website, which is craigcampbellseo.com. You can find me on YouTube, just search for Craig Campbell SEO, or you can find me in social media. Again, just look for Craig Campbell SEO. I've probably got more content going out on YouTube these days than on my website, but yeah, probably YouTube's the place to go.
Awesome. And anything else you'd like to promote? I know you have, I believe, a consulting group, you have some courses, you have linksforyou.com.
I've got linksforyou.com. I've got a private mastermind where I'm actually going in there right now after this to offer 2 sessions a week to help other people and stuff like that. So you can find all of that on my website though. If you do, I do consulting and stuff like that. But yeah, I always know a lot of people. So if you're ever stuck with anything and I can't help you, I can probably point you in the direction of someone who can.
Awesome. Well, all those links will be in the description. And thank you so much again for coming on, Craig. This has been an honor. It's been so great having you.
No worries. Appreciate it, mate.
Awesome.
Thank you.